So Michelle's comment here is really great, and it really stood out because while she's a full-time service worker, she knows that it's important to keep in mind what the customer wants or what suits them best, even if they might not realize what that is. I've already talked about how every person has a number in regards to their willingness to do a specific job. Well, the same principle can be said for customers too. It's important to remember that it works both ways. Customers have a price that they are willing to pay for something, and there tends to be a very specific line where that willingness ends. Maybe they'll pay $9 for a chicken wrap and fries. Maybe they'll pay $11, but at $13 they might be like, nah, that is way too much. And that's completely fair. Everyone has a line on what they can afford, or even if they can technically afford it, whether or not they just want to pay that much for something. And that's a huge part of what restaurant owners fear, that one price increase that's just enough to scare off customers. It's a major factor when considering the move to a higher hourly wage for servers. Everyone always talks about these corporations and massive restaurant chains having money to spare, but the fact is, in the US, they are almost outnumbered 2 to 1 by independently owned restaurants. I've worked for many wonderful independent owners that would be happy to pay servers more if the customer was willing to pay the appropriate price that would have to be charged in order for them to make enough profit on each item to do that. But your average customer is very set in their ways and very used to paying a certain expected price for things. And in most cases, there's not a lot of wiggle room like there is with high dollar items, you know? People won't think twice if a TV goes from $7.89 to $7.99, but if a burrito goes from $8 to $18, that $10 shift is obviously a huge deal. If you're operating a restaurant in an always packed tourist area where your prices are just completely jacked up because people will pay anything, well, maybe you have some wiggle room. But if you're operating a small mom and pop diner in a blue collar town, I can promise you that every single little price increase matters to customers, big time. So these are very important factors to keep in mind. Even though I'm a server, it's not always about making sure the numbers work entirely in my favor. If the numbers don't work in the customer's favor and they stop coming in, well, I'm not going to have a job anymore.